Hello, Fiona Phillips here, and this isn't the best setup for this, but I think it's going to be a video that remains. I'm sorry that my Zoom that I shot on how to use Percussion has gone missing. I thought it was there all along. How about that? So this is a little video just outlining percussion and some percussion ideas, just a very quick overview, and you're coming from my music room on the Wadawurrung campus. So I always start from what is around us. We can always make music with the objects that are around us. Now, I haven't brought in my pots and pans and that sort of thing, but if you go out and you have bush kinder, one of the things that you will always get is natural materials. Look out for these smaller ones. When they're attached, they're really great, but if you can put them into a cup, they make a great little shaker. Then all you have to do is put a lid on the shaker, or if without the shaker they're loud. So those sorts of things are much more beneficial for children to explore the sounds of. They're really good to even just dropping them into a cup. Okay. Shaking them, all that sort of thing is great. You can also put them into, if you've got some recycled things around you, these little Pringle jars with a lid that can be taken on and off are great as well, and they can be tipped in there. You only need a few, so I've only got a handful of those beautiful seeds, and they're going in there. You don't need lots, and then a different sound because it's got metal on the end. Okay, these are I'm holding these with adult hands, so remember that. But these are quite easy for children to get lids off, and you only need a small collection. So start with some of the things that you have around you. The leaves make a beautiful whooshing sound off the trees, and you can get pine needles, pine trees, all of those sorts of natural things. They do make a great noise on a surface too. So if you've got them on the table, it's about manipulating with children, getting them to be able to see if they can create a pattern. And they might even find that the nuts and things like that, they'll find other ways of making those. If you've got all leaves, just like this one, you're going to get more sound. Okay, so that's leaves. When they're green, they sort of are a bit more flexible, and so you get other sounds. They get softer sounds. These are just some rocks. Okay, they've still got the dirt on them, but they're great. They can be rolled. They can be tapped. They can be tapped on the ground. They make all sorts of different sounds. They're fabulous for telling stories with. You know, the wind is whirling around. We're going on a walk. Okay, so rocks are great. Sticks are another one. So these sticks, you can see my husband's has cut them up, but they make absolutely beautiful sounds. These ones have still got a bit of bark. They're sugar gum. They're a hardwood, so they make a hardwood sound. And they make different sounds. So the thinner they are, so they can test the sounds out and see which ones they like. See if they can hear the difference in the sounds that are around them in the natural things. Then that you have the other things that are around you in terms of natural materials. So we looked at I've still got some things in the bottom of those cups that were hiding. I wonder what's hiding in there. It's really just pins. So I've got the pins, and they're hiding in the cups. Obviously, you know all about the cup game, so there's lots of sounds that cups can make. Little hands can fit on top of the cups. They can't always grab the cups and lift them up for that particular thing, but they might be able to do it with 2 hands, something like that. They can't always hold the cup with their one hand. It's actually quite wide. So think about that. Perhaps get smaller cups. They make a smaller sound. It's hard for children also to tap them together. They have to concentrate. But the things that are around you can make some really cool sounds and different. So you can have a pattern, you know, have one that way, one this way. So think about patterns when you're using percussive things that shake. I haven't used any glue or any lids or anything like that, just the things that are around me. Bottles can also be filled in the same way as we were filling the Pringles container. The bottle can also have those same things in. It's a bit harder sometimes for children to get them in. And this bottle's still got a bit of water in it. So getting away from using food, using natural materials to fill up your bottles is a good idea. Okay, these bottles, look for ones with ridges on them because they make some really cool noises. So I'm just going to use a chopstick over here. So you can get different sounds like you would with some other untuned percussion that I'm going to show you in a minute. So we'll look for ones that have got a ridge. You will find the smaller bottles make a relatively higher sound. So you can get differences between the size of the bottles and the sound that's made. Sorry, just about dropped my bottle. And these lovely make beautiful drums for children to play as well. They have a side. I'm tapping the edge, the rim, with a chopstick and the top of the drum. So you have the side. So you can have different sounds again. Okay, just exploring the size of those containers. These ones are a good sound because they're not so deep. And children can approach these types of things. The old KFC buckets, anything like that that you've got around, it can become percussion. The best thing you can do is buy yourself a set of chopsticks for beaters and mallets. Some people also get the children to explore putting little beater heads on the top of them, which is a really good thing. But you don't have to have a lot of money to get good shakers, good sticks and instruments, percussive instruments for you to use with your children. Even the lids make really great little small sounds. So if you're wanting small sounds, soft sounds, you can get them with lids. Children will explore them in all sorts of different ways. They might even just stack them up and let them fall over. So there are some ways that you can use everyday items for percussion, things that are just around you. And all of our untuned percussion, which I'm going to show you now, is just glorified pieces of those everyday items that we have around you. So first of all, I'm going to show you, tapping sticks you will know. So anything tapping is good for keeping the beat. So these are purchased claves or claves, sometimes people call them, and they are just tapping sticks. You can get them, some people get them they've bought them from curriculum and they've got symbols on them, but these ones are actually claves. They're not made to appropriate First Nations instruments. They're made as rhythm sticks or claves or claves. The next instrument that you might have in your set of untuned percussion is a tone block. Now this tone block is also ridged or ribbed so that the children can, once again, you could go back to using your chopsticks if you've lost your little mallet, but you can, so relatively low and relatively high pitch, but mostly you're looking for interesting sounds to tell a story with. You can also tap them with the all the time. I would be looking for trying to encourage children to do a pattern. 2 of each, or 2, 1, 2, or if they're just telling a story, you can get lots of different sounds out of a tone block. This is one that's got a guiro or a ribbed tone block, and you can hear the difference when the child strangles the sound with the stick, so holds it really tight, to when they hold it loosely. And you can also tell the difference between when they play it with the head and so rolling across like that. So that's a tone block, but it's a ribbed tone block. It's a good little instrument to have at your disposal. This one is a guiro, and you can see that it's small for small hands. So it's a really good little instrument. Once again, if you play it with a chopstick like I was before, you actually get quite a good sound because the chopstick goes a bit deeper into those ridges and you get a good sound. So the old chopstick's not a bad little part of your wooden untuned percussion. Okay, so you can also get things from other countries. This one is from Percussion from Japan. They're great for children to play with. Make sure you get one that is really well stapled down the back and has leather. It will last a lot longer than one that's got vinyl. They are a little bit more expensive, but they are interesting for children to play with. They're a playful instrument that you can have. Some of them have a little bit of a hand to hold instead of just 2 ends like this one does. They have a little part that you hold, and that can be used. This is a wooden shaker. It's got some drawings on it, but only because it came from a particular maker. So throwing the beans forward. If you want less sound, get the children to put more of their hands on the instrument. Okay, so the more hands you have on the instrument, less vibrations, less the dynamic quality is lower. So that's a shaker. This is another form of shaker that is in a lot of centres, the old maraca. Try and avoid plastic ones if you can. 1, from a sustainability perspective, but 2, they make a very loud sound, and so your children who are sensitive to sound can't stand them. They just seem to get right inside their ears and they will cover their ears and walk away. So from an inclusive perspective, try and go for wood. It's a much softer sound. Once again, you're throwing the beans forward and back. It's very hard using shakers to have children demonstrate a steady beat. It's very good for rhythm. It's very good for dynamics because you can get from loud to quiet and from quiet to loud very easily. These are quite big and probably adult, so look for things that are smaller and that the children can get their hands around. Once again, you can start off and get quite loud with the maraca. If you want children to do something to the beat, then they need to tap it. Okay, so that's a steady underlying beat that they're demonstrating. You're better off using drums, which I'll show you a bit later. So another instrument, these are other shakers that are here. Once again, you're throwing the beans forward and back. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. But you can hear another sound in between those, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that sounds a bit like a train because the beans are going back and forward in the shaker. So they're quite a good one for to have around, and they sort of do that sound as well. So they're from Mano, and they're quite a good little instrument for children to have. These little eggs, plastic, and again very loud for what they are. Yes, children can get themselves around it, but they tend to just shake them like that. If you want less noise, get the children to put their whole hand around it or as much of their hand on it, and it will be quieter and softer. If you're going to have a go at these instruments, you need to practice some of the things with them. So if you were going to do, it was a summer's day and the crickets were waking up. In fact, everybody was waking up. Okay, and you get that sort of sound. Or if it's a train, you need to sort of practice how far do I have to put my hand forward to play. So that's another little egg shaker. They're very handy. I actually do prefer, if you've got lots of them playing at once, the old wooden ones. It's just a nicer sound and it's not as harsh. You can get the same sort of effects, but not as harsh a sound. So those are shakers. Another tapping one is obviously a castanet. I found these really cheap, red and blue ones. They're very old, but they have been the best. Or make them yourself with bottle tops in cardboard because it's an immediate with the child's hand. Castanets are actually really hard to play. You can get those ones that are tied that the children shake, the flappers, but they make very harsh sounds and I probably don't use a lot of them in practice. I prefer to use my homemade cardboard ones with the children that they can have. I've also sewed little bottle tops on socks and have them tap the ground. That's quite cute. We put them on cardboard and tap them on the cardboard. It's very cute. So you can have castanets, but make sure you buy them with good elastic, really good strong elastic, or you will end up replacing the elastic quite often. They need to be able to spring open so children can get them to go. If you can buy the little frog ones, the plastic frog ones, they're engaging, I suppose, but they don't last as well as these wooden ones that I do. So that's basically all of the tuned percussion I'm going to show you from a wooden perspective. So it's untuned percussion, sorry, from a wooden perspective. Claves, tone block, guiro, this is a Latin American instrument, the guiro, maraca, egg shakers or shakers. There's lots of them. You have to sort of practice throwing the beans forward, and another type of shaker. Okay, so that's all of my wooden untuned percussion. Now I'm going to bring out the metal untuned percussion. You'll always have some relative tune, as in one cymbal is higher than another, one triangle is higher than another. So this triangle here, you can either use, for your triangle, you can either use, if you lose these bits, you can just use bits of material to make, so the triangle works by the vibrations being started. And see if you can teach the children to tap the bottom of the triangle. If you tap the sides, or if they're sort of playing it like that, this, the temptation is for the triangle to go around and around and be very frustrating. So teaching the children to tap the bottom of the triangle is a really important thing. Okay, in the corner, see if they can do little ones fast. Okay, so they can actually have quick rhythms, really short sounds and long sounds. A good triangle is worth its weight in gold because you can just put a little bit into a song and it sounds amazing. Good quality triangles. This is a cymbal. Now cymbals can be played in two ways. You can either hit a cymbal with a mallet, or you can crush them together. So teach children to play cymbals when you have a moment. Obviously let them explore them just in their own way, but teach them how to play and how to get some really good sounds out of your cymbals. So a big crash, and these are only cheap cymbals and they make quite a good crash. A big sound and a small sound. Playing them down into some water is really cool. Also, they're great because they grow the sound really quickly, so they're good for demonstrating dynamics. You can see that I'm using a mallet that's got a woolen head on it. So it's got some material around the head of the mallet. That's making a better sound. If I tap it with a wooden one, it'll be a little bit more harsh. Okay, harsh. Mellow. Okay, you can develop the language of it like that. So that's your cymbals. Great fun, great instrument, really good. Tambourines are fabulous instruments because you can get so many different sounds. If you want a child to, once again, tap a tambourine to the beat, it's quite hard to do that because the tambourine part's going up and down or they're shaking it. So they won't be able to do it to the beat. So if you are putting on a piece of music and say, let's tap our tambourines to the beat, it's actually quite hard for them to do that. They can tap it with their hand to the beat, with their other hand, and hold the tambourine still, but most children will want to shake it. So don't set children up for failure. Put on the piece of music and say we're going to tap our tambourines or use another instrument like a drum. These ones are adult ones and very loud and harsh. They have lots of metal in them. So I would go for children's tambourines that only have a few of the metal cymbals in them. Lots of children love, and I love, a good cowbell. They can be harsh, or like if you've got the woven, okay? They're good if you want a really good harsh sound in a song. They cut right through the mix. So cowbells can be fun from that perspective. They're a metal percussion. And this one here is a kabasa. Okay, and you have to turn it back and forth. They're quite hard for little children because the handle, you have to be able to turn it. But it's good for them to learn how to turn it back and forward. Okay, some of them just shake it, but that's how you really play it. Okay, turning it and putting it that way. So that's our metal percussion, untuned percussion. Cowbell, tambourine, cymbals, and you can get smaller cymbals than I've got here. And the good old triangle, remember, on the bottom. So that's the untuned percussion that you will probably get in all sorts of sets. I'll put a little bit of a link in the bottom of this underneath the video to where you can get good sets of off percussion. They're really, really great from that perspective. Now I'm just going to make a bit of noise while I move. I'm just going to show you one more bit of untuned percussion. Put my instruments back down in my little boxes. And while we're on that, it's a good idea to have a good box where all of your bits of your instruments can go safely and be stored. So once you have, one of the most useful things that you can purchase is a good set of hand drums, because, I lost my hand drums, because hand drums, these ones particularly are Mino, they come in different sizes and they're immediate. So hand on the drum. You can get lots of different sounds out of a good drum. Near the edge, in the middle. The best place for little hands is on the edge of the drum there, not in the middle. Most little hands don't really get a good job. These ones have got relative pitch, so the yellow one is a bit higher than the blue. Is a bit higher than the green. And I have a very old 50-year-old hand drum, an Orff one. Okay, so that's hand drums, but there are other kinds of drums. So behind me, I have the old bongo drums. So you can do different rhythms on them. Same thing, you'll be able to rub the surface of the drum, tap the sides of the drum. Lots of different ways. You can hit drums with sticks, but they're a lot louder. You'll hear a lot more sound come out from them as opposed to beating with your hands. So the old bongos, and of course over the back I have a set of congas as well, but you wouldn't have a set of congas unless you had a lot of money or you had a percussionist come in to show you about congas. So that is nearly all of, apart from my rain stick. Which you can make yourself probably better than this purchased one. They do have, this one's a natural one, so it comes from a natural wood and the little bits of the wood having the spikes. It's quite big for a child to handle something like that, so it's more of a primary sort of instrument. Okay, that's the end of our untuned percussion. So now I'm going to move forward to tuned percussion. And in your little early learning centres, you will probably have access to quite a bit of tuned percussion. Excuse me for reaching over here. And I'm going to show you some. Just move my drums. These look good stacked up, like the children like stacking the drums. I'm going to put them over the back to show you some different sorts of tuned percussion. So tuned percussion, we can have xylophones that are made from wood. And you might have seen me on the videos or Zooms talk about these particular xylophones, which are not made from wood but are mod wood, so they don't swell if you are in a tropical area. So if you're in a tropical area, these types of ones, these come from Studio 49, which have been making xylophones for a long time, and so they're very good at getting the right sort of things for the materials to work well. Looking after your mallets and keeping your mallets, put them away somewhere always. It's a bit like paint. Other materials that you use in your early learning centre, looking after it is really important. These mallets cost a lot of money. So if you have to replace them, these woven ones, they do cost a lot of money, sort of like almost sometimes $8 a mallet. So they're like buying a watercolour paintbrush, a good paintbrush. So you need to look after them like you would look after a good watercolour paintbrush. So tuned percussion is called that because you can play a tune on it or a melody on it. A lot of you will have access to Glockenspiels, which are these ones here. These are the metal ones, and I've got some wooden ones. So this is a little Glockenspiel, and they do make lots of lovely sounds. It's a good idea to have ones where you can remove the bars. These ones don't come out really easily, so when you're purchasing yours, look for that. Excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. And then over here, I'm just going to bring them across in front of you, are these new, I've just purchased these ones. These are like your desk bells or your chime bars. So same thing, but they're coloured. The children can hold them in their hands and they work quite well. They have a good echo chamber, and these ones were of good value. So they can do a bit of... So they've got the same sort of range as the bottom of this Glockenspiel. So you can play them together. They're tuned. The one over here that I'm going to bring you across now, this one here is a metallophone. And the metallophone can have quite a harsh, loud sound. Sorry, you've lost my head. A metallophone can have quite a harsh, loud sound. So this particular metallophone, I'm going to turn it around so you can see it. This metallophone has what's called a damper pedal, and what it does is it stops the vibrations. So it's got a little bit of wood. Oops. That stops the vibrations. So I'll play it with the damper pedal on. And now I'll turn it off. Okay. So you can play quite a lot of things where the songs are loud and long, or you can play it when the sound is a bit shorter. Okay, a metallophone. It's called a metallophone because it's made out of the metal of the wood. Now you will remember from watching me on our Zooms that the best thing to do is to just start off with C's. Just octave C's as a drone. The very hungry caterpillar. The very hungry caterpillar. Okay, so using the words of a book or text or rhyme to give the children an opportunity to play something that they can repeat over and over. It might be, we're going on a bear hunt. We're going to catch a big one. And then introduce the note that is 5 away, the G. Going on a bear hunt. And while one child's playing that, another child can be playing a bit of a melody. Okay, so I can't be 2 children at once. I'm not very good at doing that. So, and then get your pentatonics by taking out your Fs and your Bs. Remember all the time to lift them up horizontally. You can make those sound effects and vocalize while you're doing it. Okay, now your instrument's set up in a pentatonic. The very hungry spider, the very hungry spider, the very hungry spider, the very hungry spider spinning her web. Okay, so you can set that up if you want it to go for long sounds. The very hungry spider, the very hungry spider. Now I'm playing it with the felted mallets or the ones that have got material. If I play it with wooden ones, you'll hear that it's very sharp. Okay, so a lot more of a harsh sound from these wooden beaters, and the sort of in between are the rubber mallets. Okay, which have a similar sound. If I played those same chime bars. So if you want a softer sound, a more mellow sound, use your felted mallets. If you want a harshest sound, use wooden ones. You can get a nice tinkly sound from using your beautiful glorified, which is actually quite a nice sound on all of. Okay, so the types of beaters that you use make a big difference to how your tuned percussion can sound. Now, the last bit of tuned percussion that you will find at a primary school level is one like this that I have over the back, which is called a marimba. So I'm just going to move my chair out of the way, and I'm just going to play you a bit of a song on my marimba. And I'll move my little things up here. So you can hear me playing what is the tuned percussion on a marimba. So that, folks, is our end to our walkthrough of both untuned and tuned percussion. Hope it was helpful. Bye for now.